Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Priya Chetty Rajgopal, and I'm a charter member of TiE on the governing board, and I manage a company called Multiversal. I'm delighted to have Harish Bijoor here. I would strongly suggest you have a look at his website because I've never seen something more basic, just focused on few things that he does and nothing more. So I think it gives an indication of the fact that you have to go a little deeper to know that he works just by a pull factor, by people coming to him for his insights and for his strategy and some of the great work that he's done over the last so many years in Bangalore and actually all over the world. Harish and I go back a long time, and I really value many of the things that Harish has done and so many of the companies that he's advised. We've had the pleasure of having him as a speaker several times on different fora, and I know that his insights and his points of view are always crisp, it's insightful, and certainly makes you think differently. So it couldn't be, we couldn't be happier to have you, Harish, on the MentoRise platform with TiE today. So thank you so much.
Thank you for that very kind introduction. And it's a pleasure being here at TiE and with you.
It's absolutely great. So we have you with us after many, many weeks of trying. So thank you for taking the time. I want to dive straight into it and also give a context. As you know, MentoRise series is something that TiE and Multiversal have been working on for a while. We really are interested in understanding a little bit behind the person and understanding what we can do to support people who do so much in their own space. And what Harish may not particularly love my sharing with you is some of the focus that he brings into companies on CSR in the consulting that he does. And he gives some very, very real insights in terms of how you can benefit and how you can do it in real terms. And I would strongly suggest you go and look that up a little bit. And I hope that Harish will give us the link for that to follow up. Harish also does extraordinary work in terms of supporting his neighborhood, particularly in the time of COVID. Very uncomfortable about speaking about this, but I will move on. But I would ask you very strongly to follow examples like this, where we are able to sort of at least make a vacuum in our own neighborhoods and sustain, whether it comes to food or livelihood or health, where we can support others and support ourselves by really being part of the community. So while congratulating Harish on some of the great work that he does as far as strategy is concerned, and some of the fantastic work that he does as a human being as part of the community, I think both are important on the Multiversal platform, on the MentoRise series that we plan. So I'm going to go into what is really, really critical for us, and I know a lot of people are waiting to hear this from you, Harish. I'm going to stay with just, in terms of a flow. I'd like to ask you a couple of questions, so we can go with the flow in terms of what you think. And I'm going to be a little cliched, so bear with me. These are difficult times that we live in. And I also have a lot of questions from the participants here, and there have been some very, very interesting questions, which I'm happy to share with you a little later. But let's just jump in straight away into the first thing that is a concern for all of us. You're going to see the word digital used so many times that it's become almost painful, right? So digital is the new language. It's the new platform. It's the new critical tool. You cannot move away anywhere without hearing that word. It is critical. It is the new company ask in the future. So what are your thoughts, advice, and suggestions to companies on this?
Okay. Firstly, I think as a very quick introduction, I'd just like to say that, we are going through tough times. And I think the tough times have been defined by Prime Minister Modi in his digital language. And one of the first things that he first said, when lockdown 1.0 came in, was that Jaan hai to jahan hai. Okay, you'll have to take that in my Kannada accent. Jaan hai to jahan hai. Now that really was a very life-centric kind of focus. The second phase, once we got into lockdown 2.0, the language was Jaan bhi, jahan bhi. And this said that, hey, listen, both are important because livelihood is as important as lives. And I think that was a brilliant, crisply formed terminology. When we get into lockdown 4.0, and after hearing PM Modi's yesterday evening 8 p.m. Address, it looks like what's being said is Jaan bhi, jahan bhi, and COVID bhi, in the sense that we are now coming into a realization to say that COVID is going to last for a period of time, and therefore, all things must go along with COVID, and therefore recognize the fact that COVID is here to stay. So, Jan bhi, our lives need to be good. Livelihood, jahan bhi, will also come, and COVID bhi is the reality. Having said that, let me quickly jump into your question of digitalism. I call it digitalism. I don't call it digital. Fundamentally because I do believe digitalism is the new religion ahead of us. Every 100 years, we discover a new ism. We have had communism, we had fascism, we have had capitalism, and 26 other isms. The 27th ism is really what I call digitalism. This has seeped into our psyche so much so that half of us don't know where our body ends and where the digital begins. So this is the ultimate reality. And guess what? COVID-19 has pushed us all into digitalism in a deeper, more meaningful manner. The joke has been that no CXO, no CTO, no CEO has ever been able to push digitalism the way COVID has pushed digitalism. So firstly, digitalism extremely, extremely critical for us in every move, every step we take, every breath you take. Digitalism seems to be the way. However, there's one concern, and this one concern I want to flag, to say that we live in a connected world, hashtag connected world. And in this connected world, we have also a COVID disconnected world. What do I mean by that? The connected world is the language, tone, tenor, and decibel of digital and digitalism. And we say the world is flat. It's as flat as it comes. And the digital device, digital means, digital systems, digital processes, everything digital gets us connected, and geography is history. But think of one thing. COVID has suddenly said that, hey, listen, guys, we need to physically disconnect. Fundamentally because source markets for a lot of things are physical markets. If China does not produce the input item that goes into my laptop will not be produced in Bengaluru. And I think that it has really caused a bit of a disconnect in a lot of our lives. Because a lot of us are going to talk about self-reliant India, hashtag self-reliant India, which PM Modi spoke about yesterday. So I think there is a dissonance between the two. The seamlessly connected world, which is digital, and the completely disconnected world, which is physical. And the two shall battle, the physical and the digital. That battle is going to start. Priya.
Those are actually very interesting insights. And I love the way that you brought in the three stages, really, of what we've gone through. The focus on just life, and the focus on existence, and the focus that we are going to deal with that horrible word, but I will use it, the new normal, as part of how we are going to grow into it. And I think at this point, Harish, when you say, I resonated very much when you talked about the fact that we don't know where our body ends and digital begins. I truly mean that I'm looking at my world and I realize that it's very rare I walk around without this. I feel really, really disconnected, to go back to the words that we use. So the digital connect and the physical disconnect, not that they necessarily are two ends of the continuum, are getting increasingly strong for us, but we're seeing binary. We're seeing, a black and white there. I think there's shades of gray. But I want to come back to this question a little later, because and individuals or consultants, primarily companies in TiE also, are struggling with the fact that, are they doing enough? How much? What is it that they need to do as far as the digital is concerned? So I'm going to leave that question with you, because that gets a little transactional, but I do want to answer, sort of talk about that as well. And I'd like to go into another somewhat related question. And again, that may be just a thought. I'm not, moving into a yes, no. But the kind of conversation that we get to see now is that brand strategy is going to be critical to a company's survival, going forward. But on the other hand, is it going to be an either or in terms of choice or spend or strategy. Is it possible that companies will slash marketing budgets? So these are some random thoughts around, the core part that brand strategy plays.
Yeah.
How is it going to play out right now? So what are your thoughts on that, Harish?
See, firstly, I was just speaking about the connected world versus the COVID disconnected world. And I want to start my brand theme from there to say that, hey, listen, guys, the important thing to understand is that there is a brick and mortar business, and it's still there. And bulk of our manufacturing businesses are brick and mortar businesses. A lot of our hard goods and our FMCG businesses are brick and mortar businesses. You will see a change in India on the brick and mortar businesses. And that change is that brick and mortar businesses will want to become very, very self-reliant, which means to say that they will not look at the world of branding as a seamless world. They will not look at the world of sourcing as a seamless world. They will not look at sourcing inputs from the cheapest destination. Instead, they might look at sourcing inputs from a destination that is within the boundaries of India. Now, this means that brick and mortar businesses are all going to become insular. This is my thinking. So take it with a shovel of salt. Brick and mortar businesses are going to become insular, just as virtual businesses are going to get, for the word of a rhyming, for need of a rhyming word, a peninsula. Okay, let's call it that. In the sense that insular brick and mortar businesses and peninsular, virtual businesses. Now, how do you deal with this from the brand perspective? My work in the space of brands are across both these segments. I do a lot of virtual businesses. I do a lot of IoT and end-to-end services and product businesses in IT and services. In addition to that, I do a lot of brick and mortar. Now, this means that as a brand person, as a strategy person, I'll need to wear two different hats. One for the insular real businesses, or let's call it physical businesses, and another for the peninsular virtual businesses. Now, which means to say, you have to define for yourself, dear entrepreneur, dear producer, dear manufacturer, dear marketer, whoever you are, as to whether you are brick and mortar or virtual. If you are virtual, you have an external facing business, which is worldwide. And if you're brick and mortar, you have a very internally focused business, which is India only. And guess what? It is not going to be India only the way you know it, but it's the real potential of India opening up. Therefore, business plans, which I'm working on currently for post-COVID realities for companies, I'm really looking at focusing in this particular manner. The important thing is branding. If you look at branding, branding is a very old science today. If you really look at it, branding is maybe 140 years old. Old branding is passé. There's something called new branding. Old branding is, if I build a pyramid in this manner, right at the bottom of the pyramid is commodity, and above it is a quasi-brand, above it is a brand, and above it are the super brands. This entire pyramid, as you climb up the pyramid, you move from commodity, you create a quasi-brand becomes a brand, and a brand becomes a super brand. Example, a commodity is rice, plain old rice. Quasi-brand is rice that you can distinguish one from the other, Sona Masuri rice, Basmati rice, and brand is Kohinoor Basmati rice. And super brand, thank God we don't have a super brand in rice. That would be ridiculous. But branding is that you climb from the sublime to the ridiculous. Commodity is sublime and super brand is ridiculous. Now, I divide all businesses into two kinds of businesses. Businesses that approach the needs and wants of people. Needs and wants are at the bottom of the pyramid. And businesses that approach the desires and aspirations of people, which are at the top of the pyramid. My viewpoint is that in the old days, branding was about taking the needs of people and making it into wants, taking those wants and making it into a desire, taking that desire and making it into an aspiration. Now, my reinforced new branding, as I call it in a paper I just wrote yesterday, is different. I think rebranding must come in. What is rebranding? Please know, in a tough economy, when the chips are down, when the money in my pocket is less, and when I go back into the market, I suddenly find everything much more expensive, because that's the reality. COVID-19 is going to make everything more expensive because the cost goes up. Whereas COVID-19 eats into my pockets, I don't have enough money. So I have less money, but more expensive products. There's one simple thing to do. Brands need to look at rebranding. Rebranding is taking desires and aspirations at the top of the pyramid and making them look like, feel like wants and needs. Which means to say that old branding was about building desires and aspirations. New branding is taking desires and aspirations and building in a reverse fashion something called wants and needs. Think about that, Priya.
It's fascinating. Actually, it's such, apart from the obvious reversal of the pyramid that you talk about, and the fact that most of us have only seen, perhaps, or only related to the, to the first model that you talked about. This is really putting things on its head and making you look very differently at what perhaps companies need to do going forward. It's a difficult market. It's a thinner and thinner slice of the pie. There are so many different, what is the word for it? So many wars on your purse, really, at this point. It's going to be a very, very interesting space going forward. And I think you answer the question that would strategy take a beating? Yes and no. Of course, like everything, there would be a reprioritization. But essentially, your survival of the company depends on where you're going to be placed in this, how you are visible to your customers. And I'm sure that's something that we can go a little deeper into, because it's a very, very interesting juxtaposition, and I'm thinking very hard about how I'm looking at basic stuff that I'm going to be buying tomorrow or not, things that I take for granted or not, what constitutes having disposable spend. Companies are going to have a lot of thinking. So you're actually asking us to think a lot more rather than giving us answers, and that's also very good, because it's good rigor. If you look at what's happening around now and the conversations that we're having at TiE, obviously we're looking at both small, medium, and large entrepreneurs. Bangalore has been incredible in the number of and variety and success of the entrepreneurs that we have, that we have sent out into India or the world, really. So we're very proud of that. But again, they are struggling with the fact, some of them are struggling with the fact that there is no business tomorrow, or there's no relatable model that they can then get back to. And some of them, I think many people have just gone into a kind of a, what would be, Harish, from your point of view, and the kind of companies that you've dealt with across spectrum, across, the virtual, non-virtual, what are the 3 pieces of advice that you would give an entrepreneur across 3 stages?
Okay. Okay. I'm going to start by talking to you firstly about the fact that, there is a very tough terrain of business out there for us, because all old businesses are in deep trouble. And I work in each of the business verticals that I'm going to speak to you about now. Firstly, there is something which I call, hashtag COVID ostracism, in the sense that people will tend to say that during the era of COVID, or COVID Kal, as I call it, we must avoid these categories. And they suffer from the stigma that consumers have. For instance, I work in the air conditioning industry. And the air conditioning industry is in a disaster mode, particularly when it comes to mass air conditioning of offices. First of all, office spaces are in a tizzy, people aren't going to offices, people are all in homes, and within those homes, air conditioning may or may not be there. Public air conditioning is enemy number 1 as of today, because people say that, the air conditioning system could regurgitate the virus back into the situation of our lives. The second industry, so air conditioning industry has got something called COVID ostracism. The second is I work in the ice cream industry. Ice cream, I don't think any of us has eaten an ice cream from outside for a long, long period of time. Priya, I'm sure you make ice cream at home, or between y'all, whoever makes ice cream at home, you might have tried it, not I. The third is office spaces. Any office space is in trouble today. That is COVID ostracism, because that's where people get together. The fourth is newspapers. I work in that terrain. Newspapers are in trouble fundamentally because of COVID ostracism. The fifth is pubs, discotheques, places I'd love to go to, but I can't. Theaters, restaurants, each one of these is in a problem. The proximity industry, the entire proximity industry is in problem. Therefore, I have a theory. How do you reinvent businesses? How do you look at businesses? And that brings me to the rules or the advice, the three pieces of advice as you put it. The first is, I have a theory which I built during the lockdown period. I wrote an article about it yesterday, and I call it okay, let me put it this way. In the old days, when you and I and all of us would go out, our parents would tell us, go out there and conquer the world. The world is your oyster. Not anymore. I now tell myself and all the businesses that I look at, hey, listen, the world is not your oyster. The oyster is your world. What do I mean by that? Simply to say, your home is your oyster and your new world is your home. And any business that can come into the home, digital businesses that come into the home seamlessly without physical interventions, anything that come into your home, restaurants that come into your home, e-orders that come into your home, anything that comes into your home, they're going to be reasonably prosperous. OTT, Alt Balaji is on a Zoom mode, Netflix is on a Zoom mode, Amazon Prime is on a Zoom mode. Anything that comes into the home is going to be okay. So the new paradigm is the oyster is your world. And therefore, when you're looking at it from the perspective of the oyster, it's extremely important for you to understand that any business that's internal, in focus, is going to be reasonably doing well. Anything that's external focus will take a period of time. And my estimation is 36 months before we start going safely out there and actually experiencing the restaurant fare. Three pieces of advice. That's what you said. So let me first go with the first piece of advice. What must businesses do? The first word is, in inverted commas, respect. Respect. Respect nature. Because please note, COVID-19 is a virus, and it actually happened, and it brought us all to our knees. And guess what? It is a pause moment in our lives. Fortunately, it's not a full stop moment. It's a pause moment in our lives, which says, hey guys, pause and think. What have you done to nature? What have you done to the air, the earth, and the water? All of a sudden, I'm told you can see, Canada from Ludhiana. If you really look at it, the entire situation is we have destroyed the earth. So think. So my first piece of advice is respect nature once again. Second, respect the normal. Don't worship hollow gods. By that I mean, don't go after things you mustn't go. Okay? Which also means the pursuit of happiness is possibly a different pursuit now. It's not only the pursuit of money, valuation, and my dear entrepreneur friends, valuation, think of that. It's not the be all and end all of everything. And the third thing I would say, respect the old. And by that, I hope I resonate with you, Priya, because this is a personal cause of yours which you champion so evangelistically. Heritage. Just worship, respect these three things. That's advice number one. Advice number two, redefine the meaning of Vikas. I keep hearing Vikas. I've been searching for this guy called Vikas. And all of us are searching for him. We don't find him. This guy is called development in English. Hey, listen guys, please redefine the meaning of development in inverted commas. Development doesn't mean putting up those steel flyovers, putting up those brick and mortar buildings, putting up those air purifiers and chopping down the trees, which is what many of us were doing till now. Governments were doing it. People were silent about it. Hey guys, COVID-19 is a wake-up call. Second piece of advice, redefine Vikas. What is Vikas? What is real development? What must matter really to people? And guess what, guys? This is not an esoteric takeoff which says that we must take care of nature, we must take care of our trees, our water. No, no, no. It makes business sense. If you resonate your business line with what people want, your business will never go awry. If you go against the tone, tenor, theme, and decibel of what your people want, and you don't respect your consumers, your business will go bust at some point of time or the other. Last piece of advice, the third one is define family in inverted commas with a different perspective. Because a lot of us in our business lives, in our personal lives, we draw different circles of competence. The first circle of competence, the innermost circle is I. The smallest unit of society is I. I live for I. I think of I first, and then I think of a circle just outside it, and that is I and my family of 4.5. I keep saying this, 4.5, because the Indian census says that the average size of the Indian family is 5.5. I've been to many homes, not found that half a person, but that's how statistics are. I and my family of 5.5 is the second circle. We mostly think within these two circles. I draw another outer circle, and that's the city. When are we going to start thinking of my community, my local community? I, me, myself, my family of 5.5, my community. Hey guys, community has come into fashion all of a sudden. Let it not go out of fashion. I know many of us ask our neighbor when we go out for a walk, you see the guy in a mask and you ask, how are you? All well? Maybe we ask it selfishly as well, because we just hope that he is well so that I am going to be well tomorrow.
That's an interesting.
That is forced community feeling. This will go once COVID-19 goes, whenever it goes. I hope it goes. But the point is, I, me, myself, one, inner circle, my family of 4.5, outer circle, my community, thank heavens we are coming there, my city, my country, my world, the cosmos. Guess what, guys? In India, a research of mine tells me that we think only of I and my family of 5.5. Full stop. 97.4% of us think I and my family of 5.5. Full stop. Community now is going to come in. I'm going to do an update on this research sometime or the other. But there are 5 countries in the world which think differently. I've told you the outermost circle is the cosmos. Which are the countries that think cosmos? And there's generic research which says countries that think of the cosmos are Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, and the Netherlands. 5 countries which think cosmos down. So that is thinking big to small. We think small to up. I think we must redefine that last portion. So 3 pieces of advice: respect those 3 things that I mentioned, redefine development, which is important, and thirdly, redefine family, because the family is now the community as well, at least the community, if not the cosmos. Great.
Before we go ahead, we have about 5 minutes left for the session.
Yes, I'm very conscious, Harish, and I know that you have to slip off in a couple of minutes. You've got another call, but I want to say thank you very much. That was hugely, hugely a trigger, and I think respectful of the fact that there is going to be an economy that we are going to be community minded. We've got to think large. We've got to think connection, and we've got to stop thinking inward, though we may be inward. So lots of interesting, pleasant dissonances here, conversations which mean hear something together somewhere else, apart somewhere. And I see some lovely threads in this which are really making us all think. And I'm sure I can speak for the people on the panel. So thank you so much. There are about 10 questions, and I really, really feel sorry that I have to cut through so much of them. We have some very, I'm just going to take one question if I may, because just please, Turika, please make sure that Harish jumps off at 3:35 sharp because he's got another call. Yeah?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So I'm going to ask just that one question, which I thought was interesting. What should business communicate while addressing the anxiety of a customer?
Okay. Very good question, because you are communicating with your consumer, and your consumer could be a virtual consumer or a physical consumer. Important to communicate as a real entity yourself. A business is a live entity. A business is as human as the human you interact with or sell to or partake your services to with. So if you look at it, these two need to be live. Your business must look alive. And when you look alive, you will communicate with your consumer in an alive manner. During COVID-19 or during COVID call, important to showcase your brand not only as a commercial entity that is looking for the top line value and the bottom line value from the consumer, but you must showcase your brand to be a palliative. The brand as a palliative. I've written a paper called The Brand as a Balm. You could pick it off my Twitter handle. I'm sure it's there somewhere. The brand as a balm. Please look at your brand, your business as a balm. The brand is a balm during tough times. The brand is a palliative during tough times. The business is a palliative. The business is a balm. So go for it. And I think that's a very great way to go. I'm also going to say, Priya, that, I'm sure there were some questions. So if there are questions, if people could just mail me at harishbijoor@hotmail.com or come onto Twitter and post the questions and say that they were there at the TiE Bangalore event, which was hosted by you, by Multiversal. I'm really going to answer everyone. I promise.
Thank you so much. I want to end with one quick question where there's marketing strategies required to move digital. This is Vikram who has put this across. So that was interesting. As marketing strategies mostly are required to move digital, what are some of the techniques to break through clutter as targets of digital campaigns are also being fatigued?
Okay. Digital campaigns are going to be very difficult campaigns now because, there's too much of clutter. First of all, the number of mediums that you actually use to carry them are about 372 mediums. Whereas physical advertising goes through something like about 14 prime mediums. You have to stand out from the clutter by, again, resonating with your consumers. Extremely important that one size fits all does not work. In digital campaigns, you have to understand all campaign and advertising has several roles. One role of a campaign is to create awareness. Another role of a campaign is to create interest in that product or service. The third role is to create a desire to own that product or service. The fourth role is to create the action of sale. And the fifth role is to create satisfaction. Mistake most digital players make is they package all these 5 goals into one piece of communication which lasts for 1 minute because digital has the time ability. Don't do that. My view is cut it into pieces. Have one piece of communication on digital which is only awareness oriented. Another for interest and desire building. And the third one for the action of selling that item. And the last one, the fourth one, to create satisfaction among consumers who have already bought it. And use these 4 devices seamlessly by looking at the algorithms that control your digital spread in such a manner that today we can intelligently serve these 4 things and we will know exactly who got what, how much what, and what it resulted. Digital tracking today is a science, if not a philosophy. So I think divide it all and I think you will do well. Yeah.
So we are just wrapped up on time. You have to jump off. Harish, that was absolutely, again, all that you've been sharing with us has been somewhat, like an onion, peeling off stuff that we've always thought that we knew, but seeming simple, but also deeply, I think, actionable. So that is something I'm really grateful for. This conversation has been interesting, and I know that, like many of us, we're looking forward to YouTube version so we can go back and sort of revisit, understand, and take some of the insights that you've so generously shared with us. I am going to be very, very greedy and say that we must do another session soon, perhaps on building up a couple more of the points that have already been raised by some of our wonderful participants on the show. And I apologize for not being able to take all of them, but let's do another one soon. And we are on behalf of TiE and on behalf of the MentoRise platform, we support who you are as a part of the community, what you've done, and however uncomfortable you are about sharing some of it. I just want to tell you that this is what the world expects from us now. this is the respect that you're showing. As a marketer and as a strategist, the sharing, I think, is going to be hugely useful to me personally. And I'm sure to many of the people here, I hope that we get some feedback and interest that we could share with you. So I'll let you go to your next meeting. And from TiE and from MentoRise, thank you so much, Harish, for a really well spent 30 minutes that just flew past.
Thank you, Priya. Pleasure being here. Take care. Bye. Bye.
All right then. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
So, Lita, we will close off the meeting. And I know that I want to just, while Harish is leaving, and thank you so much, Harish, for, sort of supporting. We had a great session. I don't know whether anybody would like to, put the questions or just share anything that they would like to a little later. Build it into another conversation. Anything that you would like. We have maybe a couple more minutes for all of you to give me your feedback, and we can build from there.
Absolutely, Priya. So everyone on the call can send in your feedback or any follow-up questions in the chat, or you can also email me if that's more comfortable, and we can share the same with Harish and get his suggestions and share the same with you guys.
Absolutely. So we had a good discussion. But questions, I really apologize because we had some great questions that we were hoping to put together, but time was a little crazy. Yes, it is Harish Bijoor at hotmail.com, and he's Harish Bijoor on Twitter. So anything that is there, please do communicate with Tulika. Let's build this up into something that we can, I think, as a workshop go forward, with some to-dos, with some takeaways that we can build on from this. There were some great insights here. So, I don't think we should let that go. I would let you all go. I thank you once again for the time and for, I think, a great session that unfortunately we were very silent about on this one. Tulika from TiE is organizing this one. I'm Priya Chetty from Multiversal on the MentoRise platform, which is focusing a lot on ensuring that people are able to look at impact in addition to doing business. So all of you stay safe and be well, do well. See you all soon. Thank you, Tulika.
Thank you, Priya. See you around. Bye.
Thank you so
Bye,
much,
everyone.
Priya. Take care.
Thank you, Vijeta.